NXGN Talks begins.
Today, we've got a stack of really fascinating sources.
Yeah, they all point towards something you might not think about much, but it's surprisingly revealing.
Exactly. We're talking about the cultural significance of, well, unusual pets. Think sugar gliders, chinchillas, even meerkats.
Mm-hmm. And what the material suggests is that these animals are, way more than just companions.
Right. They seem to act as cultural symbols and even kind of emotional mirrors.
Reflecting the needs and maybe the values of the people who choose them.
So our mission here is basically to cut through all that material, pull out the key insights, and give you a shortcut to understanding the deeper stories behind why people choose these specific animals.
It's really about how these choices tell us something about modern life, maybe history, and that humans search for connection.
Okay, so let's start with an image. This comes straight from the sources. Imagine you're in a quiet room, maybe late at night, and suddenly this tiny furry thing launches from like a bookshelf, wings out, gliding silently and lands right on your shoulder. A sugar glider.
Wow.
The surprise, right?
Yeah.
Maybe initial weirdness.
Yeah.
But then the bond that forms, it tells you something immediately.
It really does.
Sometimes culture isn't grand theories. It's just beautifully weird. Shows up in unexpected ways.
And that unexpectedness is key here, isn't it? These aren't your standard cat or dog.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yet their popularity says something. So let's get into those sugar gliders first. They're small nocturnal marsupials. Australia, parts of Indonesia.
Right. And the sources really emphasize how different they are as pets. They're up all night.
Yeah, that nocturnal thing is big.
They make this unique chirping sound, almost like a bark. And of course, they glide.
And culturally, it's interesting. They pop up in Aboriginal Australian stories, representing agility, the night spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But as pets, that's much more recent. Late 20th century, apparently. Big surge in Japan, the U.S., Southeast Asia.
And the why behind that surge. The research suggests it's not just, oh, cool, a gliding animal. There's a strong emotional element.
This really jumped out at me from the material. It seems people often get them when they're feeling, alone.
Yeah.
And that nocturnal aspect kind of clicks with certain lifestyles, right? Students pulling all-nighters, gamers, freelancers, people on unconventional schedules.
Exactly. They chirp, they cling, like physically cling and form these really close bonds. The sources describe them becoming, really important companions for people dealing with isolation.
Whether that's urban isolation, living in a big anonymous city, or just emotional loneliness.
Right.
Such a striking metaphor, isn't it? In a world where maybe real face-to-face connection feels harder sometimes. You have this creature that literally hangs on. Physically clings, but also emotionally bonds. It kind of mirrors that need for connection.
It really does reflect something about modern companionship, I think.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit, but stay on this theme. Animals as symbols. We need to talk about chinchillas, especially in Japan.
Yes. Known for that incredibly soft fur, and they're often quite shy, gentle creatures.
And culturally. Huge impact there. And a lot of it traces back to one film. Studio Ghibli's My Neighbor Totoro.
Absolutely. After that movie, chinchillas just became intertwined with these really powerful ideas. Childhood innocence, peace, that sort of mystical connection with nature Miyazaki does so well.
And Totoro himself, the character, while not literally a chinchilla, was apparently inspired by creatures like the chinchilla, right? Gentle forest dwellers.
That's what the sources suggest, yes. And this wasn't just random. It ties into post-war Japan, a time when there was this cultural current looking for, innocence, peace, environmental awareness, and media.
So it's fascinating, according to the material, isn't just movie makes animal popular. It's why. People started getting chinchillas because of the symbolism.
Right. It became like keeping a piece of that Totoro magic, that innocence in your home.
It also taps right into that whole kawaii culture, the power of cuteness in Japan.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But chinchillas represent a specific kind, soothing cute, maybe. They're not hyperactive. They just exist gently, calming presence.
So sometimes maybe what you want in a pet isn't playfulness, but just that quiet reminder of something peaceful, something you want to hold on to.
Precisely. A reminder of something lost or something you value and want to preserve.
Okay, third example, meerkats. Little desert animals from southern Africa, always standing guard.
And the sources mention this, maybe surprising, trend of them being kept as pets in some places. Europe, Asia, certain subcultures.
Still are important to note, often controversial, right? because they are wild animals.
Definitely carries ethical considerations. But focusing on the cultural interpretation, their story as pets is maybe the clearest example of mirroring human social stuff.
Because in the wild, they're super social. Live in those tight colonies, moms.
Incredibly so. And when brought into a human home, that instinct doesn't just vanish, it adapts.
How so?
Well, the sources describe them trying to replicate that group dynamic, but with the humans, they follow you everywhere.
Like literally follow you.
Yeah. They act like sentinels standing guard at the window, the door. They cuddle up. They basically treat the humans as their new mob.
Okay, wow. So it makes sense then that owning one in those contexts isn't framed as just having a pet.
No, it's more like gaining a new member of the tribe, or the family unit. That's the language used.
And sociologically, the material links this to bigger shifts, right?
Yeah.
How people are rethinking family beyond just blood ties, chosen families, close-knit groups.
Exactly. It reflects that beautifully. I mean, what's more symbolic than an animal wired for group survival trying to build that same unit across species?
Yeah.
The idea that this alert wild creature becomes someone's, emotional anchor, a real perceived family member. It's pretty striking. Speaks volumes about our own need for belonging.
So let's pull these threads together. We've got the sugar glider clinging on, the chinchilla embodying innocence, the meerkat forming a new tribe. What's the collective takeaway here from the material?
I think the core finding, really reinforced across these examples, is that our pet choices, they're rarely just random. They're often quite deliberate cultural choices.
And emotional mirrors?
Absolutely. And sometimes, like with the chinchilla and Totoro, almost symbolic placeholders for things we value, like innocence or nature.
Yeah. So the way different people, different cultures adopt and interpret these specific animals gives us clues, doesn't it? Clues into how they view connection.
Loneliness, nature, childhood, family, all of it.
It really highlights how tangled up our animal companions are with our cultural stories and our own emotional lives.
It goes back to what you said earlier.
Right. Sometimes culture is just beautifully weird.
And maybe that weirdness is what makes it so revealing. Weirdly beautiful, even.
So what's the bottom line for you listening? This deep dive, it really shows how our pets are tied into our cultural stories, our search for connection, even our history.
Yeah, the examples show us that choosing a pet is often much deeper than just getting an animal. It reflects who we are, what we're looking for, maybe even who we want to be.
So here's a final thought to chew on. If the pets people choose reflect their culture and emotional state, think about the animals that are really popular where you live.
What might these common choices, dogs, cats, birds, fish, whatever they are, say about the people in your community? What needs or values might they be reflecting?
Something to consider.
Keep your mind open to how culture shows up. Sometimes it's in the furry or the gliding or the creature standing guard at the window.
Thanks for joining us.